I just could see this animal's face as it was crawling towards me, and it immediately, to me, seemed like a horror movie. In conservation biology, it's what I went to school for. But when I was in college, I actually ran into the animal rights group on campus, and it really got me thinking about the issues that are facing farmed animals. After I graduated school, I was really looking for basically any sort of job where I could help animals. So I was looking online just for jobs, and I ran into a posting where they were looking for undercover investigators, right? And honestly, I didn't have a ton of confidence in myself, but I felt like, if it was just me being able to make a sacrifice, give up my time, give up, a lot of my personal life, then I thought that I could basically try and do whatever I needed to in order to help animals. So the first undercover investigation I did was in a chicken slaughter plant in North Carolina, and I was incredibly nervous to be in that sort of situation. I worked in live hang, which is a job where chickens are basically dumped out onto a conveyor belt that goes into this room that's dark except for some red lights, and people in that room are standing over the conveyor belt. Their entire job is to push their hands into this wriggling mass of feathers and flesh and beaks and try to pull up chickens by their legs, and then they would shackle the legs of the chickens in these shackles that were going by overhead, and you had to do that at a rate of, I believe, 24 chickens a minute, so roughly one every 2 seconds. Yeah, the stress of it all, I think, was more than anything I've ever felt. It was more than just me being nervous all of the time about being caught. You just think about, are people suspicious of me? What sort of things am I saying? Am I saying things in a way that's believable? And you're also nervous about being able to film the correct things, because every shot that you get starts to feel like one more step closer to being able to go home again, right? There were a lot of times during that investigation and during other investigations where it felt like it was hard to take anymore. I couldn't really talk much to people, so it was very much an isolating situation. A lot of my experiences made me question maybe who I was as a person, because as vegans, we care about animals. We don't want to see them hurt. But because I was working in those environments, I not only had to look at all of these horrible things, but you have to do the jobs that you're given, right? So if you work on the kill floor, you do the kill floor jobs. I think what's so special about undercover investigations is they really are a way to show people the day-to-day inside these farms and in these slaughterhouses, right? You're never going to see an ad that has piglets being castrated without any anesthetic, or the horn buds of a calf being burned out of their heads by an iron, leaving them with nerve damage and third-degree burns. Those aren't things that these companies are going to show to people, right? They're going to show happy cows and murals of wide open expanses with farm animals happily grazing on them. So the only way that people are going to know about the practices that occur and about the wanton cruelty that often occurs as well are undercover investigations. In a slaughter plant, you see thousands of animals on their way to being slaughtered. And it, I think, is hard to connect with them in that sort of environment, just because they go by so fast and because of the pressure put on by the higher ups to keep everything moving at such a high speed. There was a time where the line stopped moving at the pig slaughterhouse that I was working at, and when that happened, it normally meant that one of the pigs was a downer. And as soon as the chute opened and the animal came out, I could see that something was very wrong, right, with the way that they were moving. And they were sort of crawling towards me, and I realized that they were only using their front legs, and their back legs were really just dragging along behind them. And I just could see this animal's face as it was crawling towards me, and it immediately, to me, seemed like a horror movie, right? It was a scene where an injured victim tries to crawl away from a horrible monster or a killer or something like that, and it really just put in perspective to me how horrible this sort of situation was for the animals. As investigators, we sort of go into these situations knowing that all of these animals, right, are destined for slaughter. Investigators are there to observe and document what happens to these animals, but because we have to maintain our jobs at these facilities, we can't be lifting much of a hand to help a lot of these animals, unfortunately. What kept me going was honestly the thought that maybe I just hadn't done enough, right? That I hadn't done enough to show people what was happening to these animals, that I hadn't really done enough to sort of earn myself a place within the movement, and the desire to really try and push myself to achieve something that I could be proud of, I think is what sort of kept me going in those moments.